strain your credulity, Lyle.
Oh, challenge.
I took these teeth to Mr. Clift at the Hunterian Museum. Now, we appear to be looking at a form of monitor lizard, but comparing the limb bones, a lizard bigger than an elephant.
The Stonesfield beast.
Sir?
Dr. Buckland has similar remains in the Ashmolean Museum. Cuvier himself saw him a couple of years ago.
Cuvier?
He envisages a reptile 40 feet long.
These great men engaged. My puny provincial efforts count for nothing.
No, you've got excellent specimens here. You've done good work.
But will Dr. Buckland publish and name the beast for science?
He's reluctant to do so. Dr. Buckland's preoccupied by seeking evidences of the biblical flood. Would you publish?
I hope to, but Dr. Buckland clearly has priority.
Well, when he knows you're in the field, Mantell, he may finally exercise it.
So the creature whose remains I had discovered, painstakingly restored and tried to identify, was already known to the geological community. It would not bear my name and establish my reputation as a man of science. Such was the fate of the country doctor, who tried to join the immortals. As Mr. Lyle intended to proceed to Brighton, and thence along the coast to Bognor, I accompanied him on horseback to Ditchling Beacon to show him the general features of the country. He was quite enchanted with the magnificent view from that elevated spot. We parted at that place, Mr. Lyle taking the road to Patcham. If I had lost the prospect of fame, I had found a new friend and colleague, and I had my first book in preparation.
In his first book, Fossils of the South Downs, Mantell was hoping to describe his vision of the prehistoric era, with huge tropical plants and vast reptilian animals. Mary assisted him with drawings of his finds, and patiently began to master the art of scientific illustration.
If I could be the first to identify this unknown world to science, then surely some rich patron would step forward and propel me from the humble life of a country doctor to the high status of a professional scientist. The carelessly rich could place us so easily among the first circles.
In March 1822, while her husband was visiting patients, Mary made an extraordinary discovery that was to change both of their lives forever.
Mary had found a giant tooth that was unlike any of the other teeth I'd found. It was flat and worn, not sharp and pointed like the other teeth, those that Lyle compared to the Stonesfield beast. It seemed a different creature altogether.
Hello, here's your sister. Hello, Ellen. And how are you?
Fine.
Did you have a good walk with Daddy?
Yeah.
Yes, did you? I'm good.
What have we got there?
I don't know, thought you might. Maybe something.
The Stonesfield beast was a meat-eater, like modern reptiles. But this new find seemed to be a second creature, a herbivore that chewed its food like a cow. Without a modern equivalent, it seemed impossible scientifically, and it was vast, at least 40 feet long. How could a heart pump blood round a creature that large? How could muscles support such a vast frame? And what could it have fed on to support several tons of flesh? who would ever believe me? Mary's find, I believed, would cause the great men of geology to take notice of their country cousin and propel me to the greatness I deserved.
We've heard some erudite and absorbing papers this evening. The Geological Society's main business is concluded. Are there any further communications before we adjourn for refreshment?
Gideon Mantell of Lewis.
You have the floor, sir.
I beg the Society's indulgence. I wish to lay before you some recently discovered fossils which, I believe, suggest a type of reptile previously unreported. A reptile of astounding dimensions. These fossil teeth were found in deep secondary strata, and therefore cannot be from mammals.
Mr. Mantell. Thank you, Mr. Mantell.
Indeed, aspects of their form suggest they must be reptilian in origin. Furthermore, the ridges on the worn-out teeth show they belong to a herbivore. Therefore, I believe that we are dealing with an herbivorous reptile of gigantic proportions.
Reptiles.
This goes against the method of analogies laid down by Cuvier.
I realize the difficulties.
My dear sir, this tooth is clearly from a mammal.
But
A
as
recent one, I would say.
But as I said, sir, it was found in the secondary strata.
You attribute the Weald to the secondary epoch, Mr. Mantell, but it is not sufficiently deep for that.
I'm extremely familiar with the strata concerned.
No, sir. In my view, it is older. Tertiary. When mammals might be expected in abundance.
What about the wolffish?
That's a very sage suggestion. Thank you for your news from Sussex, Mr. Mantell. We must be kept abreast of the ardent work of collectors in the provinces. You've been given useful clues as to your fossils. Pursue these avenues, and no doubt you will reach a credible conclusion. Now, if there is no further business, I declare the meeting closed.
Mr. Mantell, your tooth, sir.
So not only do I not know my fossils, I am ignorant of my strata.
You need more
I'm a
evidence.
country doctor, Lyle. I have no college fellowship, no private income.
Well, let me help you. There are strata in the southeast. If we find the matching fossils, then the Wealden Formation will be proved.
The secondary strata they were searching for was filled with fossils. Below it was the Earth's crust, and above it was the more recent tertiary strata of gravel, sand, and clay. Near Rye, on the south coast, they found secondary rock bedded with sandstone and limestone, just like Mantell's Tilgate beds at Cuckfield.
Mantell!
They also found something else, a tooth, identical to the one Mary found at Cuckfield.
I had found a creature unknown to science. Now surely I was on the threshold of fame.
I will be your advocate. It's what I'm trained to do.
Mantell finally completed his first book, Fossils of the South Downs, in 1822. But although he had a publisher, he had to pay the entire printing costs himself. Subscriptions met only part of the cost, But the family had great expectations that the book would liberate him from his unrelenting daily round of medical work.
I see a cake.
Special cake.
Wow, look at that. Fantastic. Should we go eat it?
Who wants some cake?
In the preface, he pointed out that his labours were snatched from few hours of repose, and apologized for the amateurish quality of his wife's drawings.
As the engravings are the first performance of a lady but little skilled in the art, I am most anxious to claim for them every indulgence. I am well aware that the partiality of a husband may render me insensible to their defects, but although they may be destitute of that neatness and uniformity which...
Mantell. Do I know him?
The surgeon from Lewis, Dr. Buckland.
Oh, yes. Mistook a rhinoceros for a herbivorous reptile. Which college was he at?
He did not study at the university.
Really? Have you seen my guinea pigs?
No.